how billions of plastic bottles are turned into new clothes. You've probably worn plastic before and didn't even realize it. That soft hoodie you love could have been a water bottle. Those running shorts maybe once lived in a vending machine. Every year we toss out over 500 billion plastic bottles. That's enough to circle the planet more than 25 times if we line them up end to end. But instead of ending up in landfills or oceans, billions of those bottles are getting a second chance as fashion. From trash to trend, this is the surprisingly cool story of how empty bottles become brand new clothes. We're going inside the world of massive recycling lines where heaps of plastic turn into smooth fibers and threads. You'll see how bottles are collected, shredded, melted, and finally reborn into fabric that's soft, strong, and surprisingly stylish. Let's start at the very beginning with something we all do every day: tossing away a bottle. Step 1. Collection, where it all begins. Before a bottle can dream of becoming a hoodie, it has to be found. That journey starts in a few different ways depending on where you live. In the United States, most bottles are collected through curbside recycling programs. Those blue bins we wheel out every week. Municipal trucks pick them up, often mixed with other recyclables like cans and paper, and deliver them to local materials recovery facilities, or MRFs for short. In Europe, especially in countries like Germany and Sweden, the process is even more efficient. They use a deposit return system. You pay a small deposit, around 25 cents when buying a drink, and you get it back when you return the empty bottle. That simple incentive pushes recycling rates above 90%. It's why you'll often see people feeding bottles into reverse vending machines, which are those cool kiosks that scan, sort, and stack bottles like little robots on caffeine. Meanwhile, in many developing regions, including parts of Asia and Africa, the heroes are informal waste pickers. These individuals collect bottles from streets, dumps, and beaches, selling them to recycling centers by weight. It's tough work, but together they recover millions of tons of plastic that would otherwise pollute rivers and oceans. Once collected, the bottles are baled into dense cubes, thousands of them stacked like Lego bricks and shipped off to specialized recycling plants. Some go to domestic facilities. Others travel across borders to massive processing plants in countries like the Netherlands or Poland. From here, the real transformation begins. But first, these bottles need to clean up their act. Step 2. Sorting and cleaning, getting rid of the gunk. When the bales arrive at the plant, they're unpacked and dumped into enormous conveyor belts. Imagine an airport luggage carousel, but instead of suitcases, it's a clinking, chaotic sea of bottles, clear, green, blue, crushed, dented, all rolling together like they're on a field trip to redemption. The first job? Sorting. Because as it turns out, not all plastics play nice together. Those clear soda bottles? That's PET, which is short for polyethylene terephthalate, the golden child of recycling. But then you've got the imposters: PVC, HDPE, and a few mystery plastics that just don't melt the same way. Mixing them all up would be like trying to bake a cake with glue instead of flour. It'll end badly. So sorting is everything. Some facilities still rely on human pickers, standing along the line, pulling out anything that doesn't belong. It's fast-paced, rhythmic work. You can almost hear the tempo as they grab, toss, and repeat. But most modern plants take it up a notch with optical sorting machines that look straight out of a sci-fi movie. These machines use a mix of lasers, cameras, and near-infrared sensors to scan every single bottle zooming past. In less than a blink, they analyze its chemical makeup, color, and even the way light reflects off it. Then, whoosh, a jet of compressed air blasts the wrong ones off the belt and into separate bins. It's fast, it's loud, and if you've ever watched oddly satisfying videos online, this is basically the industrial version of that. Next up, color sorting. Clear bottles, green bottles, blue bottles, they all get separated. Clear ones are the most valuable since they can be dyed later, while colored plastics are trickier to reuse without losing brightness. It's like organizing a messy box of crayons before you start drawing. Then comes the label removal stage, aka the factory's version of exfoliation. The bottles are tumbled through huge rotating drums fitted with friction rollers that scrub off labels, adhesives, and shrink-wrap sleeves. Some even get blasted with steam to loosen stubborn glue. Caps and neck rings, usually made of polypropylene or HDPE, are stripped off too, because they melt at different temperatures. It's all about purity here. A single cap left in the batch could mess up an entire melt. After several washes and rinses, the bottles come out glistening, squeaky clean, and smelling, well, not like flowers, but definitely less like old cola. And standing there, rows of pristine, label-free bottles on a conveyor. It's almost poetic. These were once tossed away, forgotten in trash bins or roadside gutters, and now they're spotless, ready for a second life. But they're still bottles, smooth, round, and rigid. And fabric? Fabric needs something very different, something soft, flexible, and fibrous. So to move forward, these bottles have to break down, literally. Step 3. Shredding into flakes. Remember those squeaky clean bottles fresh out of their day spa? Well, it's time to say goodbye. They're about to go through something a little less relaxing. Meet the plastic shredder, a machine so powerful it makes a wood chipper look like a salad spinner. Inside, massive steel blades rotate at high speed, biting into the bottles and tearing them apart with ruthless precision. Each one gets sliced, crunched, and pulverized until it's reduced to tiny pieces called flakes. The sound alone is wild, a mix between thunder, grinding gears, and oddly enough, popcorn popping. Thousands of bottles can be shredded every minute, disappearing into the machine's steel jaws like they never existed. Each flake is about the size of a cornflake or a small piece of cereal, which is ironic because honestly, they kind of look like breakfast. Definitely don't try eating them though. So why shred them? Because smaller pieces mean bigger efficiency. When plastic is broken down into flakes, it melts faster, cleans easier, and processes more evenly later on. Think of it as dicing your vegetables before cooking. You could throw them in whole, but it's not going to turn out pretty. As the shredded flakes tumble out of the machine, they land on vibrating screens that separate the perfectly sized pieces from the oversized ones. The big chunks get sent back for another round in the shredder, kind of like students repeating a grade until they get it right. But even now, they're not ready for the big leagues. These flakes still have microscopic traces of glue, soda sugar, and maybe even a bit of dirt from their days in the trash. So, it's bath time, again. They're washed in massive industrial tanks with hot water, detergent, and mechanical agitation that looks a bit like a washing machine on steroids. The goal is to make sure no contaminant survives, because even a tiny bit of leftover sugar or oil can mess with the melting process later. Some facilities take cleaning even further by using float sink separation tanks, a simple but brilliant trick based on density. PET, the kind of plastic used in most bottles, is heavier than water, so it sinks. Meanwhile, lighter plastics like caps, labels, and rings made from polypropylene or polyethylene float to the top. It's like a plastic pool party, only the ones that sink get to move on to the next round. The floaters are skimmed off, dried, and recycled separately into different products like bottle caps or containers. Nothing goes to waste here. After their final rinse, the PET flakes go through centrifugal dryers, giant spinning machines that whip away every drop of moisture at insane speeds. Some dryers even use hot air tunnels that blow through the flakes as they glide along conveyor belts, ensuring they're bone dry and ready for what's next. By the time this stage is done, the transformation is unbelievable. What started as grimy, discarded bottles are now clean, crystal-like flakes, catching the light as they tumble through transparent tubes. Up close, they almost look like crushed ice or tiny gemstones, each one a recycled miracle waiting to be reborn. They're collected and stored in massive silos or storage hoppers, where they wait to be melted down and spun into something entirely new. And honestly, if you were to scoop a handful, they'd feel surprisingly nice. Light, crisp, slightly cool, with a faintly glassy texture, like holding the future in your hand. Factories like Unify, Bionic Yarn, and Far Eastern New Century handle thousands of tons of these flakes daily. Some of them even specialize in customizing the flakes' properties, adjusting purity levels, color, or moisture content depending on whether they're destined for fabric, packaging, or 3D printing. In some facilities, the flakes are even melt tested. Small samples are heated to ensure they melt smoothly without discoloring or bubbling. If they pass the test, they're cleared for the next stage, extrusion. And this is where things start to get fiery, literally. Because from here on, it's all about heat, pressure, and precision. Step 4. Melting and extruding. Plastic reborn. Here's where science meets art and heat meets plastic. The clean PET flakes are poured into extruders, which are basically long heated cylinders fitted with rotating screws. As the screws turn, friction and heat melt the flakes into a thick, gooey liquid, kind of like honey, but definitely not something you'd want on toast. This molten PET is then filtered through fine metal screens to remove any last impurities. The result? A smooth, consistent stream of melted plastic. Now comes the fun part, extrusion. The molten plastic is pushed through tiny nozzles. Imagine a pasta maker forming long, continuous strands. These strands are then cooled and stretched to make them stronger and more flexible. In some factories, they're chopped into uniform pellets called rPET pellets, recycled PET that can later be spun into fibers or molded into new products. In others, the melted PET goes straight into fiber production. This is the moment where trash becomes textile. Those glossy threads are the first glimpse of what will eventually become the fabric for your t-shirt, jacket, or running shoes. And if you're picturing a chaotic, smoky factory, then think again. Modern recycling plants, especially in Europe and the US, are sleek, automated, and incredibly clean. Companies like Unify in North Carolina, creators of the famous Repreve fiber and Parley for the Oceans, which partners with Adidas to make shoes from ocean plastics, have turned recycling into a high-tech art form. So yeah, this isn't your average recycling story. This is plastic reborn. And in the next stage, those shimmering threads are about to become fabric, stretched, spun, and woven into something that might just end up hanging in your closet. From the chaos of crushed bottles to the precision of spinning threads, the next step is where the magic really happens. So don't forget to click on that like button and subscribe. Step 5. Spinning into fibers. This is where melted plastic officially begins its glow up. Those neat little rPET pellets from before are now fed into industrial spinning machines. Huge metal beasts that look like a cross between a cotton candy maker and a jet engine. The pellets are melted again and pushed through incredibly fine holes, forming strands thinner than a human hair. As they emerge, cool air blows across them, instantly solidifying them into silky, shimmering filaments. Imagine thousands of glowing threads falling in slow motion. It's hypnotic, almost beautiful. These strands don't just sit there. They're put through a kind of fiber boot camp. Stretched, twisted, and gently reheated. It's like giving each thread a full-body workout. The goal? To align the plastic molecules so they're stronger, smoother, and more flexible. As the threads are drawn out and cooled, they toughen up, kind of like stretching a rubber band and feeling it snap back tighter each time. The more they're pulled, the sleeker and sturdier they become, until what started as melted plastic turns into pure polyester fiber. That's where polyester gets its superpower. Resilience. It's the reason your workout shirt doesn't wrinkle, your jacket doesn't shrink, and your clothes don't fall apart after 3 rounds in the washing machine. All that strength, it comes from a few good stretches. Now, these fibers can take on all kinds of personalities depending on what they're meant to become. Some are spun into microfibers, super fine and silky, perfect for soft, delicate fabrics or those fancy cleaning cloths that somehow make your screens sparkle. Others are puffed up into fleece fibers, thick, cozy, and ready to be turned into the kind of jackets that make winter bearable. Then there are the filament yarns, long, continuous threads designed for durability, used in sportswear, outerwear, and performance gear. What's crazy is how luxurious these recycled fibers feel. You'd never guess they started life as soda bottles. They're smooth, light, and flexible, proof that trash can quite literally be transformed into treasure. And some of the world's biggest names in fashion have turned this science into an art form. Patagonia, Adidas, and the North Face have built entire collections out of recycled plastic bottles. Adidas even launched its Parley for the Oceans initiative, making shoes and jerseys from ocean plastics. Each pair of Adidas Parley sneakers gives a second life to around 11 discarded bottles that might have otherwise ended up floating in the sea. Meanwhile, in North Carolina, Unify's Repreve plant has become a global powerhouse for recycled polyester. Their fibers have already transformed over 35 billion bottles into high-quality fabric, enough to outfit the entire planet in matching gym shorts. But here's where it gets really fascinating. The process isn't just about melting bottles and hoping for the best. It's precise, almost surgical. Factories like Unify's Reprieve facility or Torei's Advanced Textile Labs in Japan can fine-tune every detail of a fiber. By adjusting airflow, temperature, and drawing speed, they can decide whether the result is fluffy like fleece or sleek like performance fabric. One tweak gives a cozy winter pullover. Another a smooth, sweet, wicking running shirt. All from the same starting point, a humble plastic bottle someone tossed into a bin. So the next time you're stretching into your morning jog, just remember, that soft synthetic tee might have once been chilling in a vending machine, filled with soda, not style. Once the fibers are ready, they're bundled into massive bales that look like cotton clouds. These bales are then shipped off to textile mills around the world for the next step, turning threads into actual fabric. And this is where plastic stops pretending and starts looking like fashion. Step 6. Weaving and knitting, turning thread into fabric. This is where art meets rhythm. Picture a massive textile mill, the air filled with the hum of weaving looms, bright threads moving in perfect harmony, and sheets of fabric rolling out like giant ribbons. The polyester fibers we just saw are first carded, brushed, and aligned before being spun into yarn. They're then loaded into looms or knitting machines, and depending on what they're destined for, a breathable jersey or a fluffy blanket, the machines either weave the threads in a crisscross pattern or knit in a looped pattern. The weaving process is mesmerizing. Horizontal threads called weft interlace with vertical ones called warp, moving so fast it's almost hypnotic. It's like watching 1,000 tiny hands painting color with thread. Once the fabric takes shape, it's time for dyeing and finishing, where personality enters the picture. The raw polyester fabric is dipped, soaked, and steamed in enormous vats of color. Think of it like a day spa: heat, water, and a pop of color. Many factories, especially in Italy, China, and South Korea, add dyes directly into the fibers before weaving, a process called dope dyeing. It's not as messy as traditional dyeing and uses way less water. The result? Rich colors that don't fade easily and a much smaller environmental footprint. Once woven, the fabric passes through finishing machines that apply softeners, coatings, or water-resistant layers. Some fabrics even get brushed or sanded for extra softness. That warm, fuzzy hoodie you love on cold mornings? Yeah, there's a good chance it was once a water bottle brushed into comfort. And just like that, sheets of recycled plastic have turned into vibrant, wearable textiles that are smooth, stretchy, and ready to become something new. But before you go imagining Fashion Week, we've still got a few stitches to go. Step 7. Cutting and sewing. New life begins. Once the recycled polyester fabric is ready, it's rolled into massive bolts and shipped off to garment factories around the world. Many in Vietnam, Bangladesh, China, and Indonesia, where the global fashion machine hums at full speed. This is where the story gets personal. Here, the fabric is laid out in long sheets, and patterns are either traced manually or projected by lasers for perfect accuracy. Industrial cutters slice through dozens of layers at once. It's like watching a high-tech cake being portioned. Then comes the assembly line. Seamstresses and sewing machines stitching pieces together to create jackets, t-shirts, yoga pants, even shoes. It's a blend of human craft and mechanical precision, each garment passing through dozens of hands before it's done. And here's the fun part. It's not just clothes. Recycled PET is used in backpacks, car interiors, hats, and even carpets. Basically, if it's made of polyester, there's a chance it started as a soda bottle. Every stitch tells a story, not just of design, but of transformation. A bottle once tossed carelessly on a beach might now be running laps on that same beach, just in the form of someone's sports top. And as the final garments get pressed, tagged, and boxed up, they're ready for their next journey, from factory floor to your favorite store. Step 8. Back to you, the full circle. From recycling bins to runways, the full circle is finally complete. The clothes are shipped out across the world to retailers, online stores, and right to your doorstep. You might not realize it when you pull that new t-shirt out of its packaging, but it's carrying a secret past life. That's the magic of the circular economy, giving materials a second, third, or even 10th chance at life. Because once you're done with that shirt, if it's collected properly, it can be recycled again. It's the ultimate comeback story. Bottle to thread to shirt to recycling bin to bottle again. And the best part, it's not just good for the planet, it's changing how we think about fashion. More brands are rethinking waste, more people are demanding sustainable materials, and more innovation is happening every year. Of course, it's not perfect. Recycling plastic still has challenges like energy use, microfiber shredding, and limited recycling loops, but every strand of progress counts. So, next time you spill water on your shirt, maybe it's just your old bottle saying hello again. So let's recap. A plastic bottle gets tossed, collected, cleaned, shredded, melted, and reborn. It's spun into thread, woven into fabric, cut into shape, and sewn into style. From trash to textile, from waste to wardrobe, it's an incredible journey of reinvention. And here's a mind-blowing fact to leave with you. It takes about 10 plastic bottles to make just one shirt. 10. That means one laundry basket full of clothes could save an entire beach from plastic pollution. But as amazing as this process is, it only works if we can keep doing our part, recycling, reusing, and choosing sustainable products when we can. Because behind every recycled shirt is a story of innovation, of hope, and of second chances. So what transformation should we explore next? Old tires into playgrounds? Food waste into fuel? Or maybe something even crazier? You tell us in the comments, and while you're there, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, because this is just the beginning of the next great recycling story.